Hi guys, it's Weston here. So today I will be reviewing the Archos 52 Platinum. So I'd just like to say thank you to Archos for sending this out for review. So kicking off with the design, you can see the front panel is primarily glass. Up top we have the usual sensors, earpiece, front camera and LED notification light. In the middle sits a rather large 5.25 inch screen, and finally going down to the bottom we have some off-screen keys. At the very bottom of the phone we have a single USB port and a cutout to easily remove the back cover. The left side of the phone is left clear while the right features the power and volume buttons. So these are finished in a smooth semi-gloss black finish and makes a really nice contrast to the rest of the phone. On the top we have the solitary 3.5mm jack, and that's pretty much it. So the back is finished off in a soft touch plastic, which in this case is finished off in matte black. Be warned though, as this is a real grease and dirt magnet. Around the back you'll find the rear camera and LED flash. Going down a little bit more you'll see the Archos logo. This is finished off in a greyish silver and it's a really nice contrast against the rest of the phone. Go down a bit more and you'll notice a ridged pattern with a small cutout for the rear speaker. So speaking again of the ridge pattern, and not only does it look nice and feel nice, it adds a bit of extra grip while holding it in the hand. Last but not least is a faux metal band around the edge of the device. This not only adds to the design, but because it's curved it also improves comfort in the hand. In the hand the phone measures in at 150mm tall by 76.8mm wide by 8.8mm thick. It's a fairly large phone but still pretty manageable to use one-handed. If you've got smaller hands like me you will need to shuffle the phone a little bit to make the most of it, but it's still very usable as a one-handed device. Coming from the 2014 Moto G, it did take some getting used to, but after a while it got much better to use in the hand. Like previously mentioned, the curved edges make the phone's width easier to deal with, and the rear cover also makes the phone a little bit more grippy and less slippery feeling in the hand. So even though it's a fairly big phone, it never felt unsecure. So now on to the build, and the phone is primarily plastic apart from the glass panel at the front. Like previously mentioned, the back is finished in a soft touch plastic and it feels great. The buttons have a nice tactile feel and they aren't too mushy either. The only issue that I found with the build quality is the area around the USB and the cutout to remove the back cover. So this portion of the phone doesn't fit properly and leaves a significant gap at the bottom of the phone. Finally, at the top of the screen there is another small gap which very easily gets dirt into it, but it's not so easy to get out. Overall though, the build is very solid. With no creaks or flex, it just has those two minor issues. Moving on to the screen now, and it's great at 5.25 inches and 720p. It might not be the sharpest you've ever seen, but you'll never notice any rough edges unless you're really looking. With a pixel density of 280 ppi, again it's not the most pixel dense screen, but it certainly makes up for that in real estate. So this means that web browsing, watching videos and media consumption is a breeze. Colour reproduction is nice too. Whites are very white and don't have any noticeable yellow or blue tints. Blacks are fairly inky, but not the deepest I've seen. Colours pop pretty nicely too, especially reds. So this means that you've got a fairly nice screen to look at. It's not too overblown with saturation or contrast, but it's just at a level to keep things interesting. The screen goes fairly bright and is quite visible outdoors. It's not overly reflective either, which just adds to the experience. You will still need it on max brightness, but again, you do with most phones. Indoors, however, you can get away with up to 50% brightness depending on how much natural light there is. Finally, the off-screen keys are brilliant. They're some of the best I've ever encountered. They're already visible to you, which means you can see them outdoors. However, at night, they do illuminate, so you can use them in a darker environment as well. So coming on to the UI now, and it's all a pretty familiar stock-like Android experience. The Platinum is running a virtually unchanged version of Android 4.4.2 KitKat. The UI looks and feels as it does on a Motorola or a Nexus phone of old, so this means the experience for me at least was a good one. The only minor additions were a few included apps from Archos, but it's not exactly what I'd call bloatware level. So if you like stock KitKat, this is definitely a phone to look at. If you don't, however, you can always install a third-party launcher. And that's pretty much it for UI. Like I said, it's pretty much like stock Android, so there's not really much to cover there. Onto hardware now, and the Platinum has a dual SIM tray, So one of these can be for micro and one for nano. Also, there is a port for an SD card with a capacity up to 64 gig. The Platinum also has a 1750 mAh user removable battery. So now on to the specs that we've not already covered. So it does have a MediaTek MT6582 quad-core CPU clocked at 1.3 GHz. It has a Mali 400 MP2 GPU, 1 GB of RAM, an 8 megapixel rear camera with autofocus and LED, a 2 megapixel front camera, video capture at 1080p. And then it also has your usual Wi-Fi, GPS, Bluetooth, etc. So how do all these specs affect the performance? Well, performance for me was a mixed bag. The UI flows pretty smoothly with no noticeable lag or delay. Switching through preloaded apps is very smooth and easy to do. However, loading apps from afresh takes a bit longer than I'm used to on the Moto G. So although not a deal breaker, it was a little bit frustrating when you're used to a phone that's so fast. 720p footage plays back really smoothly with no issues whatsoever. So now to the one issue with the performance, and that is gameplay. It's definitely not this phone's strong suit. It'll play games like Smove and Spider Square okay, but more demanding titles it really does struggle. So this is possibly to do with the Mali GPU and slower speeds of KitKat. If it was running Android Lollipop, then things may be different. So battery life is pretty average. I mostly got around 1 day with about 2 hours use of screen on time. So once I did manage over 3 hours, but that was a very rare occurrence. So bear in mind during this test, the screen was only set to 50%. So if you have it on any higher and using it more outdoors, then you may even get less battery out of it. I think this has to do with the small capacity battery and the large screen, which don't help, and neither does the aging KitKat. With light use, you'd probably get through a day, but if you're a more heavy user, you probably won't. So like I've said already, the Platinum has 3G, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and all the usual stuff on a phone. It does, however, lack 4G and NFC. The phone's signal on EE 3G was impressive. I didn't notice any loss in signal or drop calls at all. My only issue was with the Wi-Fi. It wasn't slow to connect, but it is slow to load social media and YouTube, and the web as well. Sometimes YouTube wouldn't even buffer 24p videos, which in 2015 is pretty much unacceptable. Also, YouTube does buffer a lot too. I mean, my internet at 17 meg isn't the fastest, but it's still capable of streaming 1080p with ease. So maybe there is some internal issues with the hardware. Call quality is pretty bad as well. It's almost unaudible, and I found myself relying on a pair of headphones with a mic or the loudspeaker. So this is not really ideal if you're in a public place. Now onto the camera. So it's a definite redeeming feature for the phone. So yes, I know 8 megapixels isn't the biggest of thingy, but megapixels aren't everything. The photos aren't the highest resolution, and zooming and cropping images does show this. However, photos are perfectly acceptable for social media and for sharing. Colours come through vibrant and vivid. They can often be oversaturated, but that's easy enough to fix with an editing app. They are detailed enough, like I said, for social media, but not really advisable if you do editing. Outdoors, it's pretty capable of shooting some decent pics, as long as you've got a decent amount of natural light. Shooting indoors is not really that great. The images are very noisy, soft, and and the camera really struggled to find focus properly. If you do have a little bit more natural light, then obviously the images improve, but they're still not great. So now we move quickly on to the audio, and the sound from the 3.5mm jack is not that bad. It's not Moto G good, but it's pretty decent. Again, like the 50 Diamond, it's quiet but good quality. The rear speaker goes fairly loud, however it's not the most detailed, but it is pretty much acceptable for watching videos and for gaming. So now here is a quick demo of the rear speaker. So now we get to the conclusion, and the 52 Platinum is a decent phone. Priced at £130, it offers good design and build, a decent screen, okay-ish performance, a good camera if you're in the right conditions, average audio performance as well. Viewing media is probably the best feature of this phone thanks to its large screen and decent resolution. It does have its downsides though, like the subpar battery and connectivity issues. All in all though, it's a decent phone for the money. Right, so thank you for watching. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for more videos. Any likes, comments and shares would be greatly appreciated too. Thanks again and see you on the next one.